Happy National Clean Up Your Room Day. Hey, today is day 8 of our Buyer's Roadmap to Home Ownership series. I am Brian Burrows with Equity Real Estate. Let's go ahead and continue on. We are almost through the entire roadmap. So as you can see, we started out here meeting a professional, going through the whole process all the way to the final details, and now we are at closing. So what is the mysterious thing that happens at closing, and what happens at closing? So that's basically what we're going to cover today. So at closing, in Utah, you typically meet with a title company. In other states, you may actually meet with an attorney who's going to sign all the paperwork. It just depends on who you want to go with. The title company in Utah is the way we go, and part of that is that the title company has done all of the work to research the title. They're also the ones that are providing title insurance on both sides, kind of just facilitating things. So the sellers may have a title company, and maybe the same one, it may be a different one. That's okay. The title companies transfer information back and forth and make sure that everything happens. And part of this is their entire fee that they quote you. But what happens at title? So basically, you get a whole entire giant stack of documents, depending on how your loan or how you're going to close. Basically, if you have an FHA loan, you're going to have a few papers to sign for FHA. If you do a cash sale, you're going to have very few papers. And so the one thing you want to make sure that is if you're closing, ask your title company how long it's going to take. It could take a few minutes. I've closed, like I said, I bought a house with cash, and it literally took 20 minutes because everything was done so fast. There wasn't any special paperwork that needed to go anywhere. It was 3 documents, sign these. But with loans, especially when you get into FHA, there are documents guaranteeing the loan. You need to sign those. If you read through those, you have questions. You could be at the closing table upwards of 3 or 4 hours. It's generally an hour to an hour and a half. So if you guys are kind of, how long is this normally going to take? And it's not just the loan documents; it's also the title insurance documents. You may have negotiated, or the seller may have just offered a home warranty. So you're going to fill out the information for the home warranty. That's going to go to the home warranty. Anything that is covered under a payment is pretty much going to be covered under this transaction and this time. So that is basically how closing goes. Another fun thing about closing, some real estate agents, like myself, like to give closing gifts. So if it was me working with a client, I love to hand them something that maybe it would make a little bit more sense to that particular client. So it's not always the same thing every single time, but I find out what your needs are, and at closing, you may get a surprise gift of some type that kind of meets your needs. So that is always fun. I also like to bring, treats and snacks. A lot of the title companies have the same thing. They have drinks for you. It's just a really fun time. It's the end of, typically kind of a little bit of frustration in trying to make sure that everything happens. And, it's the end of the road is basically what it is. Now, I do want to say, in closing, it just depends on how you set things up. There are a couple of options that you can do. So you can take possession of the house at closing, and this is going to be submitting the documents. Sometimes the sellers still have their things in there. They're still trying to get out, and right before closing, hopefully they have everything out at closing. They go either at closing or 24 hours after closing is typically the time. Sometimes they may say, I need a week after closing to get things out. And we can discuss that and the pros and cons about that. But At closing, that doesn't always mean that that's when you're going to receive your keys. So recording is a whole other thing. Closing is another. We will talk about recording and being right in there, ready to move in and having your own home tomorrow. So I hope you guys tune in tomorrow for the last and final chapter in this series. I am Brian Burrows with Equity Real Estate. Visit my website. You can look at houses, find more information, buyandsellinutah.com. And as always, visit me on Facebook. I like to put little inspirational videos, things like that. So facebook.com or just fb.com/Brian Burrows Realtor. All right. And I will see you again tomorrow.